The Wade and Partnership is a paid programming, and KHMC Magic 95 assumes no responsibility for its content, and the Wade and Carter Show bears all responsibilities for their opinions and guests on their show.
Concerns in the Gulf on the anniversary of Harvey. The tolerant, accepting left proves the real colors. Matt Boucher joins us live in studio. We'll talk Astros, we'll talk RNC, Cowboys, and Usain Bolt, Kevin Hart controversy. All that and more coming up in today's Wade and Carter Show.
Controversy. Kevin Hart said he wanted to go race everybody. Touching of the hair or face. And that's it.
That's it. Hey, good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
How are you, man?
I'm asphyxiating over here on this bleach on this microphone.
Let's do it.
For everything you need, there's Deerland Feed. Get down this week and check on fence products, hog wire, treated and untreated cedar posts, steel
Galvanized T-posts. Yeah, you're going to want to get all your
saddles,
fence
tack,
supplies.
rope,
Barbed wire,
cattle
net wire,
prods,
cattle panels.
pesticides, seeds.
They've got it all. We'll talk with Matt Boucher later on. He's stopping by.
You think he knows Deerland Feed?
I think he knows what seed you can get at Deerland Feed.
81 degrees in Victoria, heading to a high today of 96. Under partly sunny, partly cloudy skies. Chance of rain this afternoon, not great, 40%. There you go.
Still not 100% used to this new Facebook
So
look.
kinda
But the old look's going away.
Don't complain about the weather because we were worried about Marco. He
Fizzled.
And now Laura, looks like Laura, all things being consistent, will probably go in just east of Beaumont.
Yeah.
They're fearful that Laura could be a Category 3 hurricane. But on the anniversary of Harvey, Ash, we talked about how that at this point in Harvey's life, it was just a tropical depression.
No, at this point
it was a
already,
Category 3 or 4 hurricane, but just at Laura's position, it was no big deal.
No, it wasn't. And
then it really
weren't too worried about it. And then, next thing you know, whoops, here we go. And let's think 3 years ago, Houston was inundated with floodwaters post-Harvey as it made its way through here, kind of did a left and a U-turn and went back up the coast. And the Beaumont area was flooded out. I mean, this is going to impact an area that went through some heavy rains and a lot of water just 3 years ago, right? So we're really praying for the folks there. And I got friends up in that way. I know Shreveport's looking like they're in the direct path, Beaumont area. So it's not going to be good, folks. So
I have one for you. I'll allude to a story that I think is coming at some point. I'll stop short of saying I have all the facts, but I do have enough of the facts to know that in a city where the school district receives twice as much of city taxpayers' money as the city itself. Does that make sense?
yes,
Pay $3,000 in taxes, 2 of it goes to VISD, 1 goes to the city, roughly. It is of great interest to me. Of course, I'm in the insurance business. It's of great interest to me that we are 3 years today post-Harvey, and VISD has yet to settle their insurance claim related to Harvey. They are in a large upside-down financial position related to that claim. And nobody seems worried about it. Like, it's no big deal. Biggest tax recipient on the books through a number of different avenues has bungled and been bamboozled over a insurance claim. And it's just not news. It's interesting to me. So we'll see what happens as time goes on that, because I think it is huge news. I think that as taxpayers, we should be greatly offended at the inefficiencies of both the district and the insurance organizations involved And I'm surprised that somebody hasn't picked up that mantra and said, what the hell's going on over there? That's just a redneck accent.
Yeah,
fact.
it was good.
Thank you. Hey, Jay Louderback checks in. Good morning, Sheriff.
Bobby Leister, first one in. David Glass, good morning. The Iceman is in. The Leisterometer still holding steady at 92.
92 YouTubers. Come on.
Let's get to 100 by the end of the week.
Come
Please,
on.
come on.
People.
Let's
Tell
do
your
it.
friends.
CW Bean, Judge Posey, good morning. Lisa
Hello,
Pillow,
Judge.
Patrick Strauss, Karen Webb, Marvin McCoosh, Chris Conrad, good morning to you. It is Caldo Wednesday today.
Fantastic day. Good call, Bobby.
Matt Boucher's in early, just checking to make sure we're here because he's going to stop
We're
by
here,
and talk
Matt.
to us. So looking forward to that visit. Christina Wise, good morning. Peter McNally, I am saying a prayer for you, sir. I know you're living in the Beaumont area and this thing's bearing down on you. So please,
Yeah,
please
Peter,
be
dude.
safe, Peter.
Peter, all sincerity, if you want to get away, just come this direction,
Yep.
sir.
Definitely.
We'll find you a place, I promise. Wade and Carter put you up.
Clayton Helt, good morning. Ron Sitka, Jeremy Pena, BJ Nelson. Ron Sitka says they're getting some rain in Colony Creek right now.
Good. That's called free money, Ron.
Amanda
You don't have the
Blosky,
water.
Greg Garcia, good morning, muchachos. Look at that.
I like that.
I do too.
You even said it right. Because there were no R's to roll.
No, there were no R's to roll. Thank you. Dave Garza, James Kurth, Mike Blosky, good morning
Hello,
to you.
Michael.
Will Vincent, good morning. Robin Moore Knipling,
David
David
Brogger.
Brogger, my
Hi,
daughter
Dave.
Tyler, and my grandson Graydon, good
Hello,
morning.
Tyler.
I got to play this real
Hi,
quick.
Graydon.
There were rags of many colors. Every piece was small.
The incomparable
And I didn't
Dolly
have
Parton.
a coat, and it was away down in the fall. Mama sewed the rags together.
There's a
Sewed
point,
every
folks.
piece with love. She made my coat of many colors that I was so proud of.
I know where that's going. Go ahead. Go ahead. I have thick skin. I have thick skin.
I walked in, I see the sharp-dressed man standing in here this morning, and that was the only thing that popped into my head
You
was
just started singing Coat of Many Colors. A little off key. Dolly has
Well,
perfect pitch.
I can't hit the notes Dolly hits.
No,
Even if I was kicked
they have
in
to
the
come from your
cojones.
chest.
from
You
the
have They
diaphragm.
have to come from your diaphragm.
That's how you hurt the vocal cords if you don't support from the diaphragm.
Hers is under constant duress.
Yeah. So
Boy, has anybody
just
really
amusing myself here, folks.
really stood the test? I mean, Dolly makes Cher look like a newcomer. And Dolly has stood the test of time and stood her ground. I think she's amazing.
Steve Kidder
Kidder says his
VISD
VISD suing the insurance company. They're actually they were in a pool they call PCAT. And it's interesting because you end up being a member of the pool. It's very difficult, Stephen, as you know, to sue yourself. So there's just a lot of problems. I think, and I'm using round numbers, like the district has received, I don't know, somewhere between $3.5 and $5 million. And they say that they're in dispute of $20 million with PCAT. And I think PCAT agrees there might be another 4 or 5 million somewhere down the road. I don't even know. But
That doesn't get you close to 20.
PCAT's basically broke, and the district has kind of gotten labeled as a group that is, they're being insinuated as, well, you're just trying to collect on all your old beat up buildings, and we're not going to pay for that. And it's interesting
We
times.
do have a lot of old beat up buildings.
Yeah, they do. It's an interesting time. We'll see what happens.
And they're not the only ones. I mean, I was thinking of this driving in. I drive past buildings and homes every day that still have blue tarps on them from Harvey 3 years ago. I mean, if people think this whole region has been made whole, far from it.
No doubt. I made the comment way back when, it was 3 years ago. I made the comment about 6 months from now, after Harvey. I said, look, one of three things has happened at VISD. Either they had a really cruddy insurance program, or they had a really cruddy agent, or they mismanaged their claim. And it looks to me now that it's arguable that all three instances have been at play here. And like I said, I'm doing some more research. It's easy to do. I mean, it's not the district. I'm a huge Dr. Shepard fan. I like Greg Bonewald. I like the way they handle themselves.
They inherited this.
They inherited this situation. It's not something they did, but it is epically bad over there. And you come on the heels, and Ash and I have been, maybe even to a fault, ardent supporters of, I went way out on a limb supporting their bond.
Ditto.
I ended up being tabbed as the spokesperson to talk about them closing campuses, which was much less than popular. I just was the mouthpiece for a committee. It wasn't my decision. But you've got a group now that is in need of, certainly by their conversations, in need of a passing bond. They need money. And they're having to look at the fact that they made a ill-advised and very unpopular tax grab post-Harvey, with the logic being we have to take it now because if we don't, we can't. Okay, so you can, and that makes it a good idea. We told them then on the air, this is a bad decision. Get your money from FEMA. Oh, then they did get their money from FEMA. Did they turn that tax money back to the taxpayer? Not a chance. We're going to give it back to you in the form of new benefits, is basically what the board purported. And so then you bundle up the handling of an insurance claim, and the next thing you know, you have a hard time getting the people to back your bond.
Well, and you throw the COVID situation into the mix as
Yeah.
well. Yeah. Where my brother lives, the Alberta Teachers Association, I think is on the verge. Their teachers there are unionized, and they're on the verge of going on strike. And my brother's a teacher, and I'm not. We had a conversation last night, and their contract runs out August 31st. So I get it. But I told my brother, I said, given the COVID situation we're in,
What do you want, more money?
striking is probably not the best way to get the public on your side as teachers.
Right. Because everybody's going through it.
You've had a lot of empathy given
Yes.
the fact that, and then teachers are split. Teachers, a bunch of them want to go back to school, a bunch don't, and there's issues there.
The married ones want to go back to school.
Yeah, the technology isn't where it needs to be for delivering content to kids at home. And I just told them, if you want to become the most unpopular, if you want to become as unpopular in Alberta as the federal Liberal Party is,
Right.
go on strike. You'll lose any support you might have had from people who back teachers.
Well, I think that at this point, any group that organizes to draw attention to themselves over the problems that COVID has caused them just comes off as looking selfish. Haven't we all had problems from COVID? Where are all the restaurateurs who should all band together and say, there's 200 of us in Alberta and all of our restaurants closed, and we're not gonna take it.
Yeah, well, and top it off, you have an economy that's very oil driven, and a lot of people still out of work because of the oil industry that's been decimated in Alberta worse than Texas.
Right.
And you're going to get no sympathy from them. You're going to get no sympathy from the small business owners who were forced to close and never reopened as a result.
Exactly.
Chris Conrad says, nice job holding your students and their parents hostage. Unions are awesome.
Yeah, unions have done their time, folks. I don't see. I thought it was interesting when I listened to Joe Biden. It just sounded like a throwback in time a while back when he was talking about, we're going to create jobs, good, solid union jobs. And I'm like, really? I mean, are you really chatting up the union situation in this country? When everybody is a union of one, everybody videos everything that happens in their life, and they're holding the world accountable. Look what happened to me. Look what happened to me. You don't need a union and a union boss and union dues to get a union wage anymore. And the federal government is like your union spokesman. $15 minimum wage.
Well, why do you think the states that have been so heavy pro-union and union-led
They're all
labor,
broke.
That's the big reason why Illinois is in the mess it is in, because they have had to prop up pensions and retirement benefits and
It is uncanny how
Rahm Emanuel and Barack Obama
Yeah,
and the
the blue
Dailies
states.
and everybody in
the
that
blue
city.
states have the highest unemployment. The blue states have the highest crime. The blue states have Democratic leadership. I mean, these are just statements of fact. There's no getting around it. If you go to Baltimore, I don't care if it's black mayor, white mayor, don't matter. It happens to be a black mayor. I mean, big deal. But in Baltimore,
Democrat.
the Dems have controlled it for years, and it's just been on a consistent downhill slide for years. Really, since the day Cal Ripken Jr. quit playing baseball, Baltimore has been
I think when Earl Weaver left,
right. Earl Weaver,
maybe
great.
maybe Joe Altobelli.
Scott So says, "Good morning, Scott."
Micah Patton says, "Don't forget about federal employee unions."
Yeah, that's terrible. Where's Ronald Reagan when you say you want to strike? Fine, I'll replace you. Of course, we had airplanes flying all over the place for a while, but Reagan didn't care.
Jeff Fonseca says, "My mother's terrified about having students return, yet realizes it comes with the job."
That's right.
So in other words, if you don't like it, go get another job, right?
Right? Isn't that kind of what Reagan said? Well, planes may go down, but we won't give in to terrorism. He wasn't going to take it from those.
Didn't quite say that, I don't think, but
he fired them all.
Well, and it was interesting to see how air traffic control didn't suffer.
No, it's like, you see that? That's a plane. Keep it from hitting that plane over there, okay? It's crazy.
Isn't it, though?
Yeah. You know what's not crazy?
What's not crazy?
You got a problem? Call Allen's Wrecker Service. That's common sense.
578-6300.
Allen's is your go-to tow-to. Whether you need to get a forklift across the county or you need to pick up a big rig on the side of the road.
Or is it your tow-to go-to?
Could be.
I don't know.
That's great. That's nice. It works both ways. The go-to, tow-to, go-to.
10-4, buddy.
Hey, right back at you. Roger. What's your vector, Victor? At any rate.
Surely you're kidding.
Over. Quit calling me Sherman. 578-6300, Allen's Wrecker Service. Allen will come and get your vehicle and secure it safely to where you need it to be. The VCS Company's Rocket Oilfield Services and the only locally owned and authorized AT&T retailer all reside on Kerr Boulevard, just inside the loop, off of Main Street. The Hartman Communications empire started out with a two-way radio.
Just one. They couldn't talk to the other person.
They didn't have a friend. Then somebody in Cuero found one on Craigslist. And the next thing you know, they're building
on MySpace.
On MySpace, right. They saw it on the first episode of Friends, and they bought it. And since then, they've grown into an amazing empire of everything from surveillance to security to they're the state of the art. All the school districts use them. They're all over the place. It's super duper. They're just terrific. And it's going to be great when you call the VCS companies. Razor IT Solutions, JP Hull and his team will come out and solve your problems. They don't have to come out. They'll hack right into your system. They'll look at your
give them remote control and they'll figure it all out.
JP will send you a note. Do you really want your wife to have access to this photo? Just asking for a friend. How about we clean this up? How about we give you a paywall? How about we make your website and your Facebook interface? You go to my Facebook page, you can click right over to the website right there. You can donate money. You can do whatever. All of that, Razor IT Solutions, while protecting your data, while keeping you from being hacked by those ne'er-do-wells from China. SCT Building Systems, 564-8864. Clayton and Casey Help. He shed, she shed.
Me shed, you shed.
He, she shed, whatever you want. They don't care.
Metal building builder extraordinaire.
They're the best. Give them a call. They do it for all kinds of people. I didn't understand how that worked. I didn't. They have been subcontractors to builders. And now, in addition to that, builders are subcontractors to them. You see what I'm saying? So they'll build the building and have, pick one, RCR come in and build the finish out, the walls and the cabinets and all that. So it's a symbiotic relationship.
Very much so.
It works well.
Like that bird that picks the food out of the crocodile's teeth in this.
Exactly. And
On
yet
the
you
Nile
wonder,
River.
why doesn't the crocodile just eat the bird?
That's
Because
why.
the bird helps the crocodile. In this case, Clayton Helt would have to be a crocodile. He could not be a plaque-eating bird, or he wouldn't pay for the ad space. Chesapeake Furniture Company, 100 years in downtown Victoria, even before there was a downtown Victoria, when that was just Victoria, a little area prone to flooding with an occasional horseback rider. His dad, Bobby Leon's granddad, delivered furniture on a wagon.
On a wagon, horse-drawn wagon.
No kidding.
Yep.
100
No
years,
kidding.
been in business since 19.
Well, they had to wait 30 years for that's an offer to come around.
That's exactly right. 100 years, folks. Celebrating with 50% off on all furniture now. But they've got bedding, Tempur-Pedic bedding, all appliances, televisions. And guess what? They support this format. So please support the friends that support us. Jeff Fonseca says that JP Hull is your IT go-to for burner accounts. There you go.
BJ Nelson says White Trash Services is the pleasure of serving RCR.
And soon, the new if the old ranch is the 2.4, what's the new ranch we call the 1.4?
And I don't know. Yeah, we haven't figured that one out yet.
You can just call
That's
it
my
folks. The
2.4
2.4
light.
came because there's 24 cans in a case of beer. That's
Well, we
the
don't call it a
default.
case of beer.
You call
A
it
case of beer
2.4.
in Canada is 12 because it
Figures,
came
because
in
everything's smaller in
because
Canada.
you only need because 12 gets you as drunk as 24 American beers. That's what
Is it heavier, more alcohol in
Yeah.
Canada?
it was. I think.
But it's also a 12 pack up there costs about as much as a case of beer down here, doesn't it? Because it's Canadian money.
probably more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the last time I was there, it was $40 for a 2.4 of Molson Canadian.
Now, what like so my friends that are Aussie,
Yeah.
they say, "Oh yeah, Foster's is like Pabst Blue Ribbon. Like nobody drinks that stuff in Australia." So, although a PBR, a red, white, and blue, what a great marketing deal. What if they just cleaned it up just a little, PBR light, and just made it just a little more hip?
I remember we were going on a
So, what's that beer in Canada that nobody really drinks, but you hear about it all the time down here?
Foster's. No, I'm just kidding.
You'll drink them all. You don't care. I'm just trying to. I thought maybe there was one like in Texas.
To me, that
you're gonna have a Lone Star.
Yeah.
No,
No,
not.
to me, that beer is probably Pilsner, but more probably widely known Labatt's Blue.
Labatt's
I wasn't a
Blue
big
is-
fan of Blue.
There you go.
No, I like Molson Canadian. Brad Miner says still not sure who drinks more, Canadians or Texans.
I think Texans probably handle more volume, but I think the
Per
Canadians probably
capita.
are more like committed. I think our Canadian friends like to toss back a couple daily, maybe starting around 2 in the afternoon. That's my take on them. Doesn't make them bad people.
I believe it's
I'll tell you what's
per
unbelievable.
capita.
You can go to like London, England. This is no joke now. They at Lloyd's of London, the big syndicate clearinghouses for huge financial deals. These guys break for lunch at like 11. They go to a pub, have 2 or 3 pints, and go back to work at 1:30.
Well, they don't eat. That's lunch.
Yeah,
Beer, those pints, that stout is so heavy,
not sure it's
They
good for their
serve-
teeth.
they serve it
but
with a fork and a knife.
they do go and lift a few. We used to joke since they're 6 hours ahead of us, it was always best to call, in their afternoon because they might be more congenial.
Peter McNally hit the nail on the Moosehead with his Moosehead comment. That is probably the
Is that the one?
prototypical Canadian beer that everybody thought of as a Canadian beer that no Canadian I know ever drinks.
Now, how does Peter McNally know so much about Canada?
He's just a well-rounded,
Just a real
educated.
serious drinker?
Yeah. Chris Conrad says that's called a barley sandwich.
A barley sandwich.
Chris Conrad would know. I think Peter McNally hit the nail on the head with the Moosehead call there, but there were a few others.
Steve Kidder says a couple. I got that covered by the end of your show.
The end, amateur.
Oh, goodness.
Oh,
How is he doing? By the way, did he completely run off Miranda Sanchez?
I haven't seen her check in yet this morning.
Let's see who else has checked in this morning.
I don't know where to do that anymore.
I-
Oh, Lisa Poole's in, Brad Miner.
Is there not a what? Oh,
See that little we used to see who was
what
all
about
in?
that three? Oh, that's just
That's
three
just
thumbs
likes.
up.
Yeah.
Somebody hit that little blue button that you like it. Let's see if there's more likes pop up on that digital counter.
So I don't know. They've changed things up.
Very interesting.
Jeremy Pena says he's got to run to work.
There's Miranda. I'm here. She says.
Yeah, she's
All
just
right, I guess
lurking in the
I guess
shadows.
Steve's not reaching out this morning. Huh?
So do we want day 2 of the Republican National Convention?
Right, which I'm not watching, honestly.
Day 1, according to the Nielsen ratings, about 2 million fewer viewers on your news channels as opposed to day 1 of the Democrat National Convention. Although on C-SPAN,
Now, see, I'm just interrupting here. See all those likes?
yep, I see
But
them
if you
now.
look at the top, it still just says 3.
Well,
That's
yeah,
really
I'm
interesting.
not sure what they're liking, but
I don't know what
I
they're
don't
like.
know. I don't know either.
Thank you, folks.
C-SPAN, though, apparently had about 440,000 people watch on day 1 of
That's
the
not
RNC. Well, that's C-SPAN, though, compared to 70,000 that watched on C-SPAN on day 1 of the DNC. And here's what I'm thinking. Democrat viewers needed to watch it with a bunch of talking heads to tell them what they were
Right.
watching
So
and
they
what to
know what
think
to
at the end
believe.
of it. Yeah.
They have to know what to believe.
And I've been watching it on C-SPAN. I did not want to be interrupted. I don't need somebody to try to formulate an opinion for me or tell me how I should think. Day 2, I wasn't as enamored with the speakers. I thought Melania Trump did a good job. We'll get to her in a second, but I thought probably the best speaker, aside from some of the ones that came on and the business owners talked about the differences.
They're all hitting the like button.
Yeah, it still just shows 3. But I thought the small business owners that were asked to speak did a very good job of talking to the issues and the differences between their business under the Obama-Biden administration and their business under the Trump administration.
Small business to the Republicans. Was that like the chairman of FedEx, the chairman of Tesla? I mean, what?
No, we're talking dairy farmer in Wisconsin. We're
Elon
talking
Musk.
to a guy that runs a tool and die shop up in, I think it was in Minnesota.
In the
In
Rust
Minnesota.
Belt. Minnesota.
Yeah.
I got the tool and die shop.
But I really was impressed with the message that Mike Pompeo conveyed last night.
Now, isn't he a guy that early on was even somewhat out of favor with the Republicans? And now he's been instrumental as kind of the mouthpiece of reason on behalf of President Trump.
Well, and if you think about it, here's a guy who's been involved in a lot of administrations. Right?
Is he like Henry Kissinger?
No, I think he's better than Henry Kissinger. I think he might be the best Secretary of State that I can remember in my lifetime.
That's bold.
Kissinger gets a lot of credit for brokering the Iran or the Israel-Egypt. Wasn't he involved in that?
Yeah. You could not. Henry Kissinger's still alive. You know that, right?
Yeah. Don't make fun of the way he talks. He'll turn you into a Democrat.
Well, so here we go. We're talking about making fun of the way people talk.
But you're doing an impression.
Henry Kissinger.
But I thought Mike Pompeo's comments on China were on point. I thought Mike Pompeo's comments about the way that this administration has handled Iraq and ISIS on point. I mean, Iran and ISIS were on point. I think the way he discussed avoiding conflict, but using economics as leverage, the way he talked about redoing trade deals with China that benefit America, absolutely on point. And this was an area that was absolutely, in my mind, neglected by the DNC last week.
Right.
They have no clue what they want to do around the globe to benefit Americans other than get into bed with the Chinese and everybody else that Barack Obama was in bed with.
Cody Sugar says, I'm not watching because I know who and what I'm voting for. I said the other day, I'm not going to watch it because I don't want the facts to skew the way I feel about things. And I know people that don't go to church because they know what they believe. You know, it's kind of like, hey,
Well, and I think the reason why the Democrat numbers may have been higher, I think people were curious to see what if Joe Biden was actually going to talk,
Right.
or whether they're just going to pull some strings and have a hand up his back to make
They
his
do,
mouth
basically.
move. But I think people were curious to see what message or what strategies the Democrats were going to come out with, and they came out with none other than Orange Man bad. Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing, although we deny it because we're in denial. That was the basis of the Democrat National Convention last week, in my opinion.
Yep.
Orange Man bad. We have no real solid platform.
So I look at a guy, smart guy, like not Jim Cantori / Cody Sugar, and then he has no idea. Kissinger would say something like, "Damn it, Dick, you screwed the pooch. Go have a drink with Pat.
Let me run the show."
Let me run this country." He thought he was Alexander Haig before Alexander. I am in control. I am here. No, actually, you're not. Alex, I know you're a general, but you're not in control.
But could the left have been any more on point with their hypocrisy on social media last night, with their absolute bashing of Melania Trump?
It was so sad, people. It's sad that these Americans exist. They were bashing Melania Trump over her accent. They were bashing Melania Trump. I read a deal. One of them said, "Pack your bags, Melania, you're moving." I get some of that's just political banner, but it really bothered me that somebody that I'm prone to like, because I think she's very funny. It's indisputable she's highly talented, but somebody who's just
And a savvy businesswoman, because she brokered a pretty good deal to marry Donald Trump. And
well, no, and I'm talking about the fact that I turned on and I was reading some of the comments.
yeah,
And Bette Midler, Wind Beneath My Wings, the movie Beaches. She's quite funny. She's old. She's clearly done as an entertainer. But she put on there
clearly jealous.
Well, she puts on there on Twitter, "OMG, she still can't speak English." And I thought to myself, here's a woman who came from what, Slovenia, Seattle. She came from somewhere foreign, and she speaks 5 languages. And this pasty white woman,
And English is probably the worst one of the 5 she speaks.
and Bette Midler took the time to tweet out, "OMG, she still can't speak English." Now I want to contrast that as if somebody had come here, if a Republican made a comment about the dialect or whatever, the tone or the inflection used by Ilhan Omar, if a Republican, somebody with some credibility said, "Oh, can you believe the way this woman talks?" They'd be a racist and a misogynist and a xenophobe and on and on and on.
They'd be doxxed. Their tweet would be screenshot and sent to their boss,
Right.
so they could be fired.
Who would have ever thought that hate would be the wind beneath Bette Midler's wings?
Well, and here's her fallback. You watch. Today, it'll be all about, "I was joking. I'm a comedian."
No, you're not. You're a pasty white pig of a former actress.
Chris Conrad says, "That doesn't sound so pro-immigration."
Right.
Yeah.
Bette Midler, let them all come,
Yeah.
Craziness. Hey, let's take a quick break, and
let's
then we're
do
going to be joined by greatness. Veracruz today, Caldo Wednesday.
As already pointed out by many of our viewers.
You can't beat it. They're going to have to start making more Caldo. Especially if all of you today went, they would just be crazy.
They'd be out of Caldo by 12:30.
Get it. Get over there today. 576.
Here's my strategy for dealing with Caldo Wednesday. Call and order in at 11:30, and you're guaranteed.
Have it set aside. Who cares if it's cold? It's better cold. Go by and get it today. Adds an offer. Since 1926, Victoria's dealership. Now the brands are Chevy, Cadillac, Mazda, Mitsubishi, and all the gently pre-owned. But they service all makes and models. They'll inspect your vehicle for $7. They do all the paint and body shop. Everything's electronic now, digital. They match your paint. Doesn't matter if it's a Ford. Doesn't matter. They've got the best paint and body shop. It's all digital. Go by there and let them do it. Fleet sales. It goes on and on. They're right there on the Navarro Boner Mile.
There's a job that went away. The guy who had such a good eye for paint that had to mix them
Right?
by hand to figure out.
The Navarro Motor Mile. Just down the
Just
road
down the
from
road from
High
High
Prices.
Prices.
It's beautiful. Hey, if you don't buy it today, they'll be there tomorrow.
White Trash Services, have a trash-tastic day
550-1826.
and have an even better one by giving them a call.
Proud service providers to the new Wild Chow Ranch, the old WR.
Might be it.
It's got a dim boy, but you know how wide? You'd have to have 4 lanes wide for a gate to put Wild Chow Ranch across the top. It'd have to be a real small little font.
Well, and if I spell it in Russian, it's even larger.
You saw how funny that
We
was?
shortened it
The Twitter guy where he
when we
started
reached
out,
Ellis Island
he said, I just got Wachowski.
with Skirkov.
They got the guy started talking about, I just took the new Russian vaccine for COVID. It has no effect on me. It started shifting and shit. Next thing you know, it's all in Russian on the bottom. Great stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we can stop there because I notice on other radio programs.
550-1826. Give
It
White
is-
Trash Services a call.
Painful. I'll come in the morning and listen to this. I'm not promoting anybody else that's on the air, but America's First News. This guy Matt Ray, he's actually pretty good. His dad is that Ray that used to be. He's like dead now, I think. But this guy has Don Crickey on, and they talk about sports and they talk about different things. They're all New Jersey guys. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? What do you think? That's how they all sound when they're talking. He comes on. I get in the car now about 6:05, and I don't know where he's been until then, but I get news until about 6:08, and I'm not exaggerating. From 6:08 until 6:20, it is all commercials. That's getthetea.com. Get the TEA. Get the tea that makes you go. And they talk about your constipation. They talk about your erectile dysfunction. They talk about your blood pressure. It must be just a bunch of old people laying around going, what did he say, honey? I'm so constipated. Get the tea. Get the tea.
Kegel exercises. Doesn't that fix everything?
Unbelievable. Flex your little pooter. Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. We don't do that here. And I don't think we bore you with our commercials. We have to do it. You've got to do a couple. Speaking of that, our guest is looking restless. I haven't seen him out of it. He's got some maroon on his wrist. I haven't seen him out of maroon hardly ever. That's the official uniform of the American farmer.
I think he's having trouble focusing on your test pattern T-shirt there.
Right? Do you see the grid when you look at it? I'm going to go move the camera so that you're on the official Wade and Carter background. And I'm going to turn your mic on too. He goes, okay. You play the music while I do that.
Good morning, folks.
Matt O'Shea, how are you, sir?
Fantastic. Good to see y'all.
Glad you joined us.
It was raining a little bit coming in.
Was
this
it?
morning, a little bit, so we'll take that. And
A whole lot more. I got
about
about a half an inch last weekend out at the 2-4.
half inch. Barely keeps everything going.
It greened things up a little bit.
You know, the average rainfall for Victoria County is about 41 inches. We're at about 19, so we're way behind this year.
That was going to be my first question because I know this is a concern a lot of ranchers.
We're just one good tropical depression away.
Right. You know, it's pretty bad when we kind of were hoping we'd get some tropical moisture off one of those storms that come this way 3 years post-Harvey. So the good news is, I mean, the farmers right now are finishing up cotton and the cotton harvest. And it's been pretty good, actually. 2 to 3 bales in some areas. And of course, they don't want rain because we know what that does to rain and harvest conditions and things like that. But that's the good news. The bad news is if you've got a yard or if you've got anything growing outside, if you don't have it on irrigation, you got some big issues.
But you want to talk about the most fickle people on the planet are people that complain about drought. Because if you remember a couple of years ago, before Harvey, we had a drought. It was a full-blown, they were worried about the aquifers. There was no water. Texas was dying. And then we had those huge storms in San Antonio where it rained a whole bunch and the lake filled back up and that just stopped.
Oh, yeah.
Now, all the water conservation talk stopped. Everything stopped. People were outside washing down their driveway just because they wanted to. I mean,
Well, they had to get the lake levels down.
well, yeah, but I mean, literally, and then now we're back to. I've had people say it's a full-blown drought again, but it's not as bad, right?
No, I don't think so.
It's just been a dry summer.
Well, historically, summers are hot and dry in Texas, especially Victoria. So, I mean, are we out of the ordinary pattern? Probably not. I mean, August is not a month where we get a lot of rain, about 2 inches actually.
Okay.
So, September, October generally are wetter months. So, I mean, it's coming, but we didn't have much before now. So, are we in a drought? No. Are we in a dry pattern? Yes.
So I've had a question waiting for Matt.
Okay.
Fire away.
You and I have talked about. You've been very, very helpful at my house, which I mean,
Looks
I
good.
self-proclaimed yard of the year. I've now decided that I have yard of the year in Terra Vista, and yet, so Dawn helped me a bunch, and Dawn's a little bit OCD, and like about every other day, Dawn goes, "Is that bougainvillea ever going to bloom?" And the reality is, I know that bougainvillea blooms best a little distressed.
Yes, it is.
And I've got a sprinkler system that waters it, but not excessively. And Dawn seems to think it's in a big pot. And Dawn seems to think that when they planted it, when they helped me plant it, that they used potting soil instead of that. The soil may not have the nutrients in it that the plant needs, although the plant is thriving. You know, bougainvillea, basically a weed.
Mhm.
And I've cut it back and it just thrives as a plant. But as a focal point, it ain't ever turning red. It ain't blooming.
Probably you're going to have to get some blooming material to it.
Like what?
Phosphorus. Phosphorus is what makes plants bloom. So
There you right there. He paid his rent right there, people.
Probably needs to get, it's in a pot so you can control its medium, which is a good thing. If the sprinkler system is getting it every day, I mean, we do need to stress it a little bit, but I think phosphorus, some type of there's a super product called Super Bloom out there.
I bet it's in Deerland Feed.
Probably
I
so.
bet I can get that at Deerland Feed. Super Bloom, folks.
They have just about anything at Deerland Feed.
Yeah,
You've been there, right?
Oh, several times.
Is that place not crazy? You walk in there, it's like going back in time.
It's a cool place.
If Lacey Rosenquist wasn't 28 years old, you would feel like if there was an older person working there, like if I worked there, and I had like one of those aprons, come on in, the seats are up back. You'd feel like, man, this is like going back in time. It's like being in Yorktown in the 50s.
It's great. I mean, it's kind of an old world feel, but they got just about anything you need in there.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a good place to go.
Well, and Matt's available to help anybody who has issues, agriculture. They can
Any
give you
kind
a
of
call,
issues.
right?
Marriage
You
consulting.
can call. I've done a whole bunch of home visits lately.
The last time I think you were in, you weren't able to do that. Are you back able to visit the homes again?
I got caught up too. I had everybody on the list, and I did get to everybody, and I enjoyed doing that. But we're talking about lots of folks have yard problems this time of year. It's pretty common. I mean, we've had a hot, humid summer. Diseases are running rampant, specifically gray leaf spot or take all root rot. One of those
Whole
two
bunch of
probably
STDs.
going on in your yard if you have St. Augustine. And everybody's thinking, well, I got to do something about it now. Not the right time to do it now. Just too hot, just too humid. You're gonna have to wait till this fall, and then give me a call. We can talk about what fungal type products you need to put out there and what you need to do to correct it. But yeah, there's some problems going on in the yards. Trees also, shrubbery.
Yeah.
Just been dealing with it.
Why when he said that he makes house calls and he's willing to help, did I have a flashback to the Reverend Jerry Falwell Jr.? And I mean, is that a deal where Matt will just come to your house and sit in the corner while you and the missus try to work things out? I don't. The pool guy? I don't know.
Well, I don't go inside.
Okay, I didn't. So if you want to work on your marriage in the backyard, he can help you with that, maybe.
Brad Miner says you helped him with a pasture project that he was working on, and it was
That's
great.
right. Good to hear from you, Brad. Hope things are well.
You helped me about a year or so ago. I had the Japanese blueberry tree in the backyard. Still have it, not had, but it was having some problems with fire blight. And you diagnosed the problem for me, told me what I needed.
Yep,
and
that's
the only
fire blight.
place I could find it was at Deerland Feed. So I just wanted to point that out, put that out there, that if you have troubles finding something, there's a place to go. But I really appreciate your knowledge because that tree is doing I mean, it's looking great and has really grown this last year. So I appreciate what you did to help me get that tree going.
You're welcome. Let me explain a little bit about when I tell you a product to get, I'm probably not going to tell you the trade name of the product.
No, and you didn't. You can't.
I can't, tout one product over another, but I'm going to tell you what the active ingredient of that product is. You're going to have to look at the label to find that active ingredient to actually put on that product. And I can help you with that or dealing feed, or some of the other vendors in town can help you decide on what product's going to be best that contains the active ingredient you're going to need to control your problem.
How's your backyard garden doing? You put some they were entertaining quality videos up. Now, did your wife film those for you?
My son, who
did a great job. He did a great job.
He's a student in filmmaking. He helped me put those, did the editing for it. It's kind of incredible.
I might have a gig for him.
You would really?
For real. Yeah, remind me.
I will.
Okay.
So, it's kind of incredible that you think one day, I need to get something out there because we were kind of closeted there for a while with COVID. And I told my son I wanted to do just a basic backyard. Here's my garden, here's what's in it, here's how we do it, here's the problems I have with it. It was 8 minutes long. He did it, he edited it, and I thought, we're going to upload it, see what happens. 18,000 people saw that video.
Yeah, I watched it. I thought it was great.
And I got calls from other states on the composting part of it, on how to do that, and what zone we were in, and what grew well, and just all kinds of stuff. So when you get something out there, you just really never know what's going to happen to it. So we've been doing some of that. I mean, obviously, COVID has kind of changed my business a little bit in the face-to-face format of education. So we're doing more of the hybrid, where some of it's online, some of it's in person. Matter of fact, last night, the South Texas Farm and Ranch Show made a big decision. The show is going to be virtual this year. It's going to be online. And there will be no trade show either. So that's a huge change.
Shift,
yeah. It's a big shift. We don't know what that looks like. We just know we need to get something out there this year. We know we need to provide some education. We know that there's people.
Because that's a big component of it. People drive by the community center and they see all the tractors and all of that, but the education's a huge component.
Will they still be able to get their continuing ed hours and all that?
Just to say that, if you have a private pesticide applicator's license, you do have to get 15 hours of CEU credit every 5 years. And this show historically provided 10 to 15 hours of that in the 2 days. And I do have approvals for 14 hours of CEU credit in the 2 days, even virtually. So there, you will still be able to do that online. You can sit on your couch and get the credit and still get the information. So something I've never done on this scale, so I'm learning too. I'm gonna have to learn some of the technology backside of it. But they decided that, the camps were, let's not do anything, or let's do this, and the vote was, let's do this, so we're going to try and see what happens.
Well, the great thing is those guys can get 10 to 15 hours of credit during lunch. It happened really quick. I know Joey Stockbauer said that was one of his main events, is he had to go down there every year and get his certification renewed.
We have people, this will be the 39th year of that show. So
that's
long-standing, well-supported event, really for South Texas, because we draw people from all over to the show and have for years. It's an annual event. They come, they see people.
And vendors from all over. I remember last year I met a guy from Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, all over the United States. Matter of fact, my phone's been blowing up with vendors wanting us to know if we're having the show, so if they can come down and make plans or whatever. So.
Rena Shear points out that also it's a big factor. The South Texas Farm and Ranch gives lots of scholarships for Crossroads students. Is that going to be affected, or is there going to be another way, a more efficient way for folks to give and contribute to the scholarship program?
My understanding is the scholarship program will continue no matter what. We don't know what the show, what the final receipts are going to be for a virtual show. It may be better. We don't know. It may be a lot worse, but we've got enough money from past years to make sure the program goes. This show's put out over $250,000 in scholarships.
That's awesome.
Plus years. So, and it's not just Victoria County either. It is, it's all the surrounding schools. Hallettsville, Shiner, all those kids have the opportunity to apply for the scholarship. And it's a great thing.
Well, I remember last year I went and sat at lunch, and when they were calling out the scholarships, they just kept calling out scholarships.
Last year there was 15.
It was amazing. And the kids were definitely appreciative. It was a quality program.
Rena Shear says the golf tournament is still on.
Golf tournament is on, and we're trying to make it bigger and better. It's usually the Tuesday before. The show dates are October the 28th and the 29th. And then I believe that Tuesday is the 27th. So that will be the day of the golf tournament. So if you have interest, we're really going to target local golfers or surrounding area golfers this year because our vendors won't be coming. And those were a lot of the guys that played in it would come a day early to play in the tournament. So we need players to come out. It's going to be at Colony Creek on that.
A lot of eyebrows raised when those vendors would come from Minnesota with their golf clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they leave like the next morning. Yeah, I'm with you. So, well,
Let's take our final break, and then we'll come back because I know a lot of people want to know what to do with their fall garden. So I think that's a great way to wrap up the segment. So you don't have to wait to plant your cow and get your brisket. You can just stop by Uncle Mutt's today.
And you can get green beans and pinto beans and
potatoes.
They've got all that stuff from their fall garden is all ready and waiting for you at Uncle Mutt's Barbecue. Brisket, ribs, sausage, chicken, turkey. They've got it all.
They'll open around 11 today.
Whenever they want. Get by there and check them out. USA Concrete Coatings. Charlie Garcia will come out. 578-HOME. Now, 578-HOME. Let Charlie come out and prepare your surface, whether it be a front porch, a back patio,
garage floor,
a living room floor,
shop
whatever
floor.
you want. A man cave floor. You want Dallas Cowboy silver and blue on that gray background, they can do it.
And it's 4 times stronger than epoxy. It won't chip or peel.
Antimicrobial.
And they'll get it done in one day.
Hypoallergenic, just like a Labradoodle. Reach out to USA Concrete Coatings. Went services, went electrical, went generators, went battery backups, just went. If it's electric, if it powers your home, call Went. You need a wiring job done. You need wiring done on a new home, a new commercial building. They would work.
A shop. They did that for me.
They right in with Clayton Help.
I had a shop that had no power. They ran the power to.
Perfect. They do that. They do hot shot trips like that. They also will install the most high-tech, latest version of solar panels with a battery backup. So you're still getting power from your solar.
Yeah. And this isn't a stack of car batteries in your shop. It's on your wall. It's mounted. It's about the size of maybe.
It looks like one of those old hallway heaters you used to see in Grandma's house. It's not very big.
No, and they're not very wide. I mean, they don't stick out.
No, it's very high tech.
No, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool technology.
So wide, you can't go around it. So tall, you can't go over it. There you go.
So low, you can't go under.
Might as well just sit here. Reach out to Cheryl, 920-6803.
Gray Barn Design.
She'll make your next event memorable. And you can attend a party instead of having to plan a party. Big difference. Do you ever notice how the guy that's paying for the party is the guy who has the least fun at the party? Because I wish I'd have moved that table over there. I wish I'd have hung this over there. I wish I had votive candles for every table. Well, Cheryl does. 920-6803. Let her come in. When you look at the overall cost of throwing a big event, whether it's a reunion or a quinceañera or a bridal shower or a bridal reception, when you look at the overall cost of doing that, the cost of doing it right with Gray Barn Design is just a nominal increase. It only costs a little bit more to go first class, and let Cheryl do that for you. 920-6803.
Couldn't have said it any better myself.
You could not have.
No, that's why I let you say it.
I did it. We are joined and always thrilled. Matt Bochet has become a friend. And I'll tell you something, folks. If you need something, whether it's just commonsensical to him advice on planting your garden, I've asked him what I know have to be very, very simple questions. He's never gone, really? You don't know that? He's like, nope, what you need to do is, partly because he's an Aggie and I'm a TSIP, and he just does what he can to try to bring me along.
What I really appreciate is that you're a TSIP and I'm an Aggie, and you got to come to me.
Right. Well, they say, you know what a Longhorn calls an Aggie 5 years after college? Boss, baby. That's right.
Matt is our Texas Ag Extension agent and does great work for the community, and we really appreciate you stopping by.
And he's indicative of all the folks that we deal with at the elected level. Everybody that Victoria is very lucky in that regard. I mean, and I'm putting you on the spot, but if you need to talk to Clint Ives or Judge Zeller, where you just pick up the phone and call them.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like, oh, well, can I get an appointment? I mean, it's not that. That's exactly right. We're very, very fortunate to have that type of cooperative effort in our community. And that's the same with the city. Mayor McCoy, the city council, highly, highly accessible folks and great, just good people that happen to be working in politics, you know?
Well, except for Matt. He's not a politician. politician.
No, he's not at all. He's a
I'm a
farmer.
people person.
He's a
That's what I
farmer.
say.
But he is a public employee and he does a great service. So I know people are, is this the time to be prepping your fall garden or should it already be in the ground?
Both.
Both?
Actually.
Okay.
Some things probably needed to be in the ground already, and some things you've got some time on. But it's hot, number one. You do need to prep. If you had something in there, you need to work that soil up and get all the old material out of there, those types of things. If you're a big tomato person, it's a little late for those, or you can still try. We don't even know when first frost date historically is December the 1st, but it could be later, it could be earlier. It was earlier last year.
So if I decided this weekend that I was going to go get some 2x12s and build me like a little box garden, I had the soil and I had it all, and I was going to put it in
Great.
and row it out and all that, what would you suggest I plant between now and Labor Day that I would enjoy in the fall?
Leafy vegetables, spinaches, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, those types of things, no problem. They're not going to be affected by the cold weather anyway. Some things will be. Some things like to have fall vegetables that typically you're growing in the spring, but you got to plant those really early so they don't freeze.
So I like to buy spinach, and when I buy spinach, I'm buying like little baby spinach at HEB in that little plastic tub. How many spinach plants do I have to have in my garden to fill up one of those little plastic tubs? I mean, is spinach something that you pull it out of the ground once and it's done? Or do you take some off and then it keeps growing?
Take some off, it keeps growing. Spinach, believe it or not, folks, is not very difficult to grow and one of the faster growing vegetables out there. Once you get it started, it's going to grow for you. It's going to do well. And you're going to just pick it off like they do. There's leaves basically.
Yes, sir.
That people are picking off and putting in.
What does that plant look like? Is it's you plant it under the ground, obviously, but it's not like lettuce, right?
No, not like lettuce.
Okay.
Yeah, it's leafier, it's
Okay.
a little bush-like, and you're just gonna pick those off. And
Cool.
as much as you want for that night, so it's not fresh, you eat it, and then if you got more out there too. So I encourage you to try spinach, broccoli, cauliflower, those are some easy ones. Beets, if you like those, some of the tubers that will handle the cooler weather you can do.
Carrots is now a time to be planting carrots.
More of a spring
Spring,
thing,
okay.
so if you didn't get on the ground early, you're gonna have a harder time with those.
So Dawn, we've gotten on this kick lately where I'll be at Sam's, and I'll grab a bag of like a vegetable medley. It'll have like broccoli, cauliflower, carrots,
Arugula.
right? It'll have all that, and what I've gotten hooked on to the point that now cauliflower, if you're going to do a garden at home, plant it because a head of cauliflower is like $250.
Oh yeah,
I mean, if you can grow it,
and
know,
you can.
do it, because what I like to do with cauliflower is I'll put it in a bowl and drizzle some olive oil on it and mix it around so that it's all coated in the olive oil. And then I put chupacabra on it and stick it in the oven on 350 for about a half hour. And just when that olive oil starts to kind of make that cauliflower just a little bit crunchy, right? It's still tender on the inside, and cauliflower will take on the flavor of that chupacabra or any seasoning you like. It is phenomenal. And you realize as you're eating it, I can eat all of this I want. This is good for me.
Healthy food option. For sure.
Fantastic.
Fresh vegetables out of your garden, you're just not going to get any better than
No.
that. Taste-wise,
Miranda Tunches asks, can she plant radishes?
yes, radishes for sure. They will freeze, but they grow so quickly. You're not going to have any problem, especially if you get them planted now. I mean, within 30, that's one of the quickest vegetables that are out there. You're going to have some radishes to harvest within 30 to 40 days. And you've got no problem there. So do that. And
Peas and beans?
easy to grow. Yes,
Just-
peas and
I
beans
think-
you can grow
okay.
too.
Miranda's trying to grow a 4-play salad for her dinner date with Steve Kidder, her dream date with Steve Kidder.
Jeff Fonseca says, thanks, Matt. My old man is retired and turning into a gardener, yard addict, and some very useful information. So
Very good.
Are you doing a garden for you and your family this fall?
My wife wants one desperately.
Is it a ton of work? Does it have to be a ton of
No,
work?
it doesn't. And you saw the video of my garden. And for those that didn't, I have about an 8x10 raised garden. Okay, it's a composting garden. So we put composting material in there, and that fertilizes it. So it's not very big. So it's not that hard to take care of. So if you don't think you can do it, but you want to try, start real small and then work your way out from that. So it's not overwhelming. You don't want to go out there and think, oh my goodness, I've got to weed that or I've got to water that. You don't want it to be overwhelming. You want it to be something that you can be successful at, that's not overwhelming for you. So there's nothing better than going out there and harvesting 3 or 4 things and taking them in and cooking them and then using that to eat and those types of things. That's a wonderful thing. So just try small and then see what happens.
Peppers is now the time to be planting peppers,
You know,
or should have been
peppers-
planted.
Mine haven't even. They probably if it doesn't freeze hard enough, they won't freeze out. I mean, I've had peppers the same peppers in my garden for 3 years.
Okay.
We didn't get a hard enough freeze. So can you plant them? You bet. Yeah, go ahead and plant those and see what happens.
I've gone out to Stockbauer's place and he plants squash, and it's almost like you'll go out there one day and it looks like a little baby cucumber, and the next day it's a squash.
If you don't stay on top of
Then
it,
you got
it's
gourds.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, no kidding. I've been out there.
They get too, you don't want to mess with them. So yeah, you got to be on top of it, especially.
But they grow so quick, and there's I mean, even like as a son-in-law, I find myself like taking a little pride in it. You go out there, the plants are huge. They just grow. And it's like, yeah, get that one. And he would tell Caden, throw that one over the fence, and the cows will eat it. And we picked up, I mean, every time you go out there, there's enough squash that you better like them because you got a bunch to eat.
Nemesis of squash, a squash vine board. If you get those, generally they kill the plants, which has been my problem in the back. You have to spray it exactly a certain time to get that vine board. What happens is they bore into the vine of the plant, and the plant looks like it runs out of water. It just, looks like you haven't watered, even though you're watering the heck out of it. So they're actually doing all the damage to it. But I mean, I can help you with just basic questions. Anything you can think of, I can probably get you an answer for if I don't know it.
Tell them your local number.
It's a 361-575-4581. I work for Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, and I am Victoria County Extension agent. So look forward to hearing from everybody. Like working with people. Enjoy the one-on-one interaction that I get to do. When I get to see it in your setting is how I can really help you. It's hard a lot of times for people to describe their problem well enough for me to understand it. So that sometimes they'll send me pictures, which Brent does occasionally, and that helps too. But a lot of times I need to see the environment it's in to really make a recommendation.
How important, because I know you talked to me a couple of times about this, a soil sample.
Highly important. I mean, really, it's the bedrock of what we need to do. I always tell people without a soil sample, I'm guessing, as to tell you what your nutrient requirements are. Soil sample is like baking a cake without knowing the ingredients. You're guessing. So the soil sample's cheap. It's $12. You get the soil tested. They're going to tell you what's in it, what you need.
What do you just take like a little core?
In the directions or the packet that you would get on the website, it's going to tell you how to take it, where to send it, how much it costs. You're going to get an analysis back. A lot of people don't understand that part of it. That's where I come in. I can tell you what you need to get, how to put it out, how much you need, all that kind of stuff. So
Matt's got me figured out because the last half a dozen pictures or so that I've sent him are more like a grandfather sending out pictures of his grandkid. It's like I'm like, I'll send him a note and go get some of that. He'll send back looking good. He just kind of, it's Carter looking good. He's just bragging.
Well, why wouldn't you? Because honestly, to get to a certain level in your yard and landscape takes a ton of work.
It does take work.
So why not be proud of the fruits of your labor? Man?
It's fun.
Good for you. I know where you were and how far you come. So
I appreciate it.
it's good.
Yeah.
You can relate to my life. Standing next to this guy for 4 years.
Ash knows where I was and how little I progressed.
So
It's
we appreciate it, Matt. Thank you for stopping by.
Enjoy it.
Is it too late to grow pumpkins for Halloween?
Most people don't have much luck with pumpkins in Texas.
Okay.
Most
It's
of
better
those
to
are
support
grown-
the kids and churches on that deal.
Right, the Methodist Church, I think, does pumpkin patch and things like
Yeah.
that. I mean,
I grew a bunch of mini ones this spring, and I had a bountiful harvest.
There's some squash at Stockbauer's. You might be able to. They're yellow, but you could probably.
I'm not saying you can't grow them here, but I've just not heard of people growing them on a large scale. Most of them come from New Mexico. or
Yeah.
California.
So, yeah, because we were thinking of maybe planting a couple for the grandson.
Do it. Just see what happens.
See what happens.
Good seeing you, fellas.
Hey, thank you
too.
so
We
much.
appreciate it. Thanks,
That's
Matt.
Matt Boucher. That's our Texas AgriLife Extension agent. He's the guy.
He really